Hey everybody, this is Dark Side Elite here, and I wanted to do this video because it was something I was talking about a little bit in one of my other videos about Damian Wayne and Tim Drake, and who I think is the better Robin. Now, I'm gonna definitely take out a lot of my Damian Wayne bias, and I'm gonna give you the original concept of the character, and after a lot of their iterations, and give you a good, clear indicator from my personal opinion who is a better Robin, and in a fight who would eventually win. So this is my interpretation of this. Now let's look into these two characters. First of all, one let's go with Damian Wayne. Everybody loves Damian Wayne. If you really look at his iteration, how everybody loves his character, this character is almost the same exact type of character that we got when we got Jason Todd. He he came off very brash. He came off very arrogant. He was always not listening to Batman, and he did what he wanted to do. If But because of the audience at the time, they did not like Jason Todd's character because they made him very close to Dick Grayson after Dick Grayson left Batman in a very bad way, not in a good way, in a bad way. Now, I'm going off of the original iterations, not what they did in Rebirth or what they did in the new 5G or whatever what in the new universe. No, I'm going with the original iterations of the characters. Now, eventually DC did not know what to do with this character, so they did a gigantic poll to see how were they going to what was going to happen with Jason Todd, and was unanimous that they killed him by the Joker's hand. The Joker killed him and blew him up, which caused Death of the Family storyline and caused Batman to slowly start to break to the point where he wanted to kill the Joker. Now, this was also in the same vein of when, around the same time when Superman was about to start dying because Doomsday was coming and Batman was going to get his back broken by Bane. Now, this happened probably about 4 or 5 years before this, so they were setting up a lot of storylines at that time. Now, the audience is a lot different, so they actually started to really, really love Damian Wayne. But he's a very arrogant character. He's very arrogant. His original concept was he felt that because he was a legitimate Wayne, why does his father have to deal with Dick Grayson? Why is Tim Drake even around? Why is Jason Todd around? Why is the stupid girl around, which was Barbara Gordon at the time? And why does he even work with the police? He feels that his father is doing a much better job as Batman, and he could be a lot more effective if he was not working with the police. And honestly, he was talking in the vein of killing his enemies. His father really hammed home that no, we don't do that. So that was the initiation of a lot of his codes that we don't kill. We work above that. That's where I feel a lot of people really ham home that Batman has a code of not killing. No, Batman will do whatever it takes to win. That's his objective. And over the course, his sons, all of his sons, doesn't matter if it's blood or not, Tim knows it, Dick Grayson knows it, Jason Todd knows it, and so does Damian. That Batman will do whatever it takes to make sure he wins. If it means someone dies, if it means that the bad guy dies in the process, hey, well, they slipped on a banana peel. Bruce is not going to look too much about it. It happens. But Damian, the first time they introduced him in Son of the Bat, he told everyone to get out. The only person he told to stay was Alfred, and he tolerated Alfred because Talia grilled into him that you are the son you are the grandchild to Ra's al Ghul. You have royalty in your blood, and you also have Gotham royalty in your blood. You are the Prince of Gotham. So he had a very, very, very thick air of aristocracy with him, and he felt that no one should be able to touch him, and his father shouldn't have to dealt with any of them. He told Tim, you need to go. Even though Tim at the time he was an orphan at the time, and Bruce was starting had the paperwork ready to officially adopt him and change his name to Tim Drake Wayne. Timothy Drake, Jackson Drake, Drake Wayne. So it really infuriated him. It really infuriated a lot of the um, core to Damian's character because of this. Now, now his skill level, there is no doubt about it. Damian is a very skilled fighter. He's been trained since he was able to walk in every form of martial art that he could get his hands on. His mother trained him proficiently in all types of fighting styles that is within the League of Shadows or the League of Assassins, however you want to say it. So he's skilled enough to be able to be almost to the he is skilled enough to be a bodyguard for her father. That is how skilled Damian Wayne is. There's no doubt about it. I'm not putting that against the kid. But over the course of the iterations, they've been really pumping up Damian Wayne's skill level, and it makes absolutely no sense for his age, his height, his body frame. It doesn't make any sense. He should not be capable of doing all the things that he should be doing. I don't care if his bloodline is Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne trained himself to get to that point, and he had years of experience to get himself to that point. I guarantee you, if you're going back to his original concepts, he was capable of not pulling off any of those feats. He was capable of pulling off maybe a quarter of them. But because of evolution to the character, and because they added in little nuggets to the character to really showcase that his training and also the experience he had with his villains and dealing with all the crime in Gotham, it put him at a pinnacle point where he can do things that really is death-defying to all types of odds. And it makes sense. That's the way his character is. He's built to be a specter in the night that cannot be destroyed. But Damian should not be anywhere near that, and they made him that. And that's what, to me, was the death nail to his character for me. I don't like that. The reasoning why myself loves Dick Grayson and loves people like Tim Drake and even Jason Todd is because they worked to that level. They worked hard to get to that level. Damian is given that because that's Bruce Wayne's son and Talia al Ghul's son. So what? That means nothing to me. That should mean nothing. Bloodline means nothing. Case in point, Terry McGinnis is legitimately the genetic son to Bruce Wayne. That is official in the comics. He is the genetic son to Bruce Wayne. And even he at his age was nowhere near where Bruce Wayne was at when Bruce was that age. Nowhere near it. So genetics doesn't mean anything. It gives him a little bit of an advantage because Bruce's DNA is augmented because of the amount of training and everything he's ever done to his body. So there are some genetic dispositions that the body's able to do that at that pinnacle point in the genetic traits. But that still doesn't mean that he's going to get everything that Bruce Wayne has. He doesn't have Bruce Wayne's intellect. Damian is not smarter than his father. That is a proven fact. He is not. He's nowhere near skilled as his father. He doesn't have the ruthless rage to get through his enemies as his father. The only thing that drives Damian is the fact that he wants to be better than anybody else. Well, over time, that's going to be a folly. Bruce has a fundamental Bruce has a much bigger fundamental advantage than his son does. Bruce doesn't want to lose. He cannot see loss in his repertoire. He does not want to fail. He does not ever want to fail. If he fails, he finds a way to circumnavigate that failure. That is the core to Batman's reasoning to why he doesn't give up. He cannot see failure. Damian doesn't see that. Damian sees more in the fact is he wants to be better than anybody. Now, again, that could have changed, but again, that was the core of what his character was when they first introduced him. He had a massive chip on his shoulder. And that was one of the big things that really upset me about his character. He didn't need to have a chip on his shoulder. He's skilled, okay, but write him that, yeah, he's very, very skilled, but versus Any kid that's been trained with Batman for at least 5 or 6 years, that kid is going to give Damian a problem, a huge problem, because Bruce made sure that any Robin that goes underneath his tutelage is going to be skilled enough to be able to take on any member of the League of Assassins, except Ra's al Ghul and maybe Talia. Talia is a very skilled fighter herself, and so is Nissa al Ghul, her older sister. But his eldest son, Dasan, is insane. He's massively powerful. He's very, very skilled. But the thing that they did with Damian, it made absolutely no sense to his character. And that was, to me, that was the biggest death nail to his character. Now, let's get to Damian. I'm sorry, I'm about to say Damian again. Tim Drake. Now, Tim Drake, when we first met this kid, he was just a regular street kid. He was a Wonder Bread. He wasn't a genius by that standard. He just understood a few things, but he was in his shell. He figured out that that Bruce Wayne's Batman. He figured out that Dick Grayson was Robin, and he went, and after the death of Jason Todd, he put himself in that vein to become the new Robin. And Alfred pushed for it, and so did Damian, and so did Richard. And he became the new Robin, even though Batman was so hesitant about wanting another Robin. He did not want another Robin. He did not want a child being underneath his tutelage and they die. But Tim said no. He will listen to everything Bruce tells him, and he did. And that's in some of my videos. You can go back to any of my Tim Drake videos. Bruce and Tim have a very good relationship. That's the reason why whenever Tim ever came back as his Robin or as Red Robin, he knew how to lead. He knew how to lead a little bit better than Dick Grayson, because of his training with Batman. He realized that he's a pocket genius. He's actually, by Batman's own words, he's smarter than him. Tim, not Damian. Tim is smarter than Bruce Wayne. His detective skills are nowhere near Bruce Wayne's, but it's getting up there. His leadership ability actually puts even Dick Grayson to shame. His strategic prowess is as good as Bruce and Bruce and Richard's. This kid, Tim Drake, can lead the Justice League if he wanted to. He could lead them with no problems. And one of the biggest things about Tim's abilities is he's not the strongest out of the family. He's not. I will give it to Damian. Damian is stronger than Tim in some ways. Tim is not an angry person. He's not. He's more analytical. He's very analytical and logical, to the point where it can sound like he has no emotion. And that's one of his greatest strengths, because if he's calm in battle, he's practically unbeatable. Once he gets flustered, he can start to screw up. He has skills to the point where he can utilize his fighting style to manipulate other people's fighting ability. The only person that will give him a huge problem is Bruce Wayne, because Bruce Wayne knows how Tim would fight, and he would try to overpower him. Quick, get it done, over with. And in some ways, Tim is afraid of Bruce if Bruce gets angry at him. He's afraid of him. Richard is not afraid of Bruce. They fought many, many times against each other, and they had a huge battle during the time when right before when Richard gave up being Nightwing and he went to Spectre. They had a huge fight in the Batcave, and it almost wrecked the whole Batcave. And that's when Bruce realized that Richard has finally broken through. This is the Richard that he wanted to have. Richard is ready, because if Richard gets angry, his skill level goes through the roof, because he's a natural athlete, a natural acrobat. He's very, very strong for his body frame. Very strong. So if you really think about it in the terms of how Richard fights, if he really just wanted to beat the daylights out of Bruce Wayne, he could probably do it. Because there's certain things that Bruce cannot do that Richard can easily do. But there's things that Richard cannot do that Bruce can easily do. Bruce is unabashedly stronger than Richard. Way stronger than Richard. Richard's more wiry and his legs hits like you got hit by a baseball bat. He hits and kicks hard. Bruce hits very hard if he wanted to. Tim Drake needs to use weapons. And to give you a good concept, Tim Drake is the first to use a staff in actual as a Robin. It was never Richard. Richard there never used weapons. He used his fisticuffs. He used fisticuffs just like Bruce did. But he trained with the eskrima sticks and a staff and a sword. And he trained Tim to do the same thing. But Tim realized that he doesn't have the physical strength like Bruce or Richard, so he decided to use a staff instead. And that's when we got the Robin that uses staffs. Damian uses a ninja sword. He doesn't use a katana. He uses a ninja sword because he's a ninja, not a samurai. So there's a lot of things that a lot of people get misinterpreted with these characters. Now, smarts. Tim is smarter than Damian. He is flat. He's a much more analytical mind than Damian does. Tim will look at the field and just like Batman, figure out how to take care of it like that within an instant. If he sees a problem, he analytically figures it out and he puts in 3 different plans to make sure that it works. Damian can't do that. He could do maybe one plan and the way they write it, it works. So they hide the fact that he makes sure that his one plan works. Damian doesn't think 14, he doesn't think multiple steps ahead like Tim or Bruce does. He doesn't. He's a straightforward person. He's an in-your-face person. If he's doing stealth, yes, he thinks 4 or 5 steps ahead of somebody. But the thing is, Batman can think of 5 different plans plus think steps ahead of him. He plays a game of chess. So does Tim. They're playing, while Damian is trying to play chess, Bruce and Tim are playing Go. And Go is basically a Chinese game of chess. And it's one of the most difficult board games ever constructed. It's very difficult. And Bruce and Tim think on that level when they're trying to figure out what the heck to do. And they're trying to get into someplace. Now it depends on the writer. It does. It always depends on the writer. But if you go back to their history, Tim is way smarter than Damian. Way smarter. Now, physicality. Yes, Damian will tear Tim apart. He would. I'm sorry. I'm being honest here. He would tear him apart. But if you're looking at a strategical battle, sorry, Tim would tear Damian apart. Because he would let Damian try to fight him with all of his strength and he would just avoid it. He would try to avoid every strike because he knows that Damian is going to try to beat the crap out of him. Now, if it comes down to expertise, it's Tim. Tim has way more experience than Damian does. Way more experience. He worked with Teen Titans. He worked for Young Justice. He worked with the Justice League. Damian has never worked with the Justice League at all. Jason never did. Richard did. But that's because it was his first time. He was one of the first sidekicks. He was the first sidekick for DC. So of course he's going to work with the Justice League. But Tim worked with the Justice League. He sent them on missions. He was with him on missions while Batman was taking care of stuff back at the house. And I mean by, Watchtower. Which surprised Superman and Wonder Woman and everybody else. They're like, hey, wait a minute, why is this kid coming? But Superman put his trust in Batman to say, hey, if this kid can do it, then he can do it. Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, The Flash, they're like, are you sure? I think we need to bring Bruce. Superman says, no, let's do it. What do you got? And Tim was able to get them the win. He can. He surprised the Justice League on how skilled he truly was with his abilities and his knowledge. He knew what these guys can all do. And they're like, well, I mean, he was with Batman. He goes, yeah. He worked with Teen Titans for a long time. He worked with Beast Boy and Raven and Cyborg with their version, and then when Connor and Cassie Sandmark and Bart Allen came in to make the new Teen Titans, that was it. That was his Teen Titans. And then you had Beast Boy and Raven with them. Cyborg was gone. Cyborg was with another group. I think he was with West Coast Teen Titans. But Damian has never worked with Teen Titans that long because his attitude is, why the heck is he with this team? He could get he can get everything done himself. And you also got the fact that they wrote in the fact that Starfire, she actually sees him cute, but she sees the dude, he's arrogant as hell. He pisses her off. And this is a woman that can fight Wonder Woman. Yes, Starfire is skilled enough to take on Wonder Woman. And this boy is pissing her off. And she's trying to teach him to work with a team. He's thinking, no, he figured everything out because he read his father's journals. He read his father's files on everybody, so he understands what they can do. No. That's from his father's perspective. That's from Tim Drake's perspective. He doesn't have his own perspective of how to deal with them. He only knows from what his father and what Tim Drake wrote in their files. And everybody can say, well, no, it's all from Batman. He figured it out himself. Like, no, he didn't. Because he never had an understanding he was ever going to work with them. So what he did is he did exactly what his father would have done. He read files on them, and he went to them, and he basically tried to boss them around because he knows their strengths and weaknesses. But most of that stuff is basically from Tim Drake. Batman doesn't work with Teen Titans. He never worked with them. And Dick Grayson does not keep files on his friends. He never did that. It was Tim Drake that did it. He didn't do it off of Batman's word. He did it on his own. He said, no, we need to know what these guys can do. So it really boggles my mind that people don't understand that. Damian is nowhere near as smart as Tim. He doesn't have the charisma as Tim. Tim can actually tell people, listen, I only did that because I think it's right for us to know our strengths and weaknesses. It makes sense. He made sense. The only thing that made them angry at Tim was the fact that he kept it to himself. He said they all said it was a Batman thing for him to do. The only ones that kind of went was Superboy and Raven. They're the only two that kind of went, well, yeah. Because Connor at the time, who knows what he could do? And Raven has, guess what? Her father can still try to get her under his thrall. And that's what Tim was more worried about. He wasn't worried about what Cassie can do or what Bart. He never cared that much about it. It was Connor and Raven he was very well concerned about. But he lumped everyone else into the fact that he didn't want to isolate them out. But expertise. Tim has years more of experience than Damian. He was trained by Richard Grayson. He was also trained by Batman. He was also trained by Lady Shiva. Damian never got that level of training. He never did. His mother just gave him some of the best martial artists in the world that she can get her hands on. There's not many people that are better than Batman, Richard Grayson, and Lady Shiva. Not many. They're the top 5 greatest hand-to-hand fighters in all of DC. Damian never trained with any of them. He trained a little bit with Richard. He trained a little bit more with his father on the obvious reason to hone down his skills so he doesn't go into kill mode. But that doesn't mean that he's better than, I mean, his expertise in years does not mean he's going to be better than Tim Drake. Tim Drake has more years of experience and more on the job experience than Damian. Because I said again, he trained with Bruce. He trained with Richard. He trained with Lady Shiva. At some points, he even trained with, I think he trained with Deathstroke. Let me look. Let me look this up a little bit. I want to give you the better information. Let's see. Okay. I don't want to use these people. Hold on. I kind of don't want to use them because people can easily. All right. Let's. Sorry, I just want to give you guys enough of this information because I actually know a lot of people really think that Tim will get completely eaten by Damian, and I go, what? That makes absolutely no sense. Okay, here we go. So now this is from DC. This is from the DC. This is from one DC website. Wikipedia can get completely muddled, but over the course, this has never changed. Now, when it comes down to skills and ability, Tim Drake has trained under Batman for years before training with Young Justice and Teen Titans further. So yes, he trained with Young Justice and Teen Titans. He can even keep up a conversation while taking out multiple well-armed enemies. Now, the thing is that Tim Drake can actually analytically figure out how to take down his enemies and still be able to hold a deep, compelling conversation with anybody. That is how skilled he is. That's how skilled he is. He doesn't have he once he figures out how to take this stuff down, he takes it down. Okay? He says he fought trained ninjas and assassins as well as mercenaries. Now, same thing goes for Damian. I give it up. He's trained with some of the greatest mercenaries in the world. He's fought with different types of ninjas and assassins, so he has a very keen killing ability. Makes sense. It's understandable. However, Tim Drake, he has Henry Ducard, and Henry Ducard is the guy who trained Bruce in criminology and hand-to-hand fighting, because Henry Ducard was a French criminologist, and he was the guy. He was France's greatest detective. That's who Henry Ducard is. No, Henry Ducard is not the alias for Ra's al Ghul or Ra's al Ghul, or Ra's al Ghul, however you want to pronounce him. That's not Henry Ducard. That's not Henry Ducard. Henry Ducard in the comics was a different person. He was a French detective who was one of the masters of criminology in France. And he also trained with Lady Shiva. He has defeated Jason Todd and said he has more training than him. Jason Todd has way more training than Tim Drake, and even Tim was able to take him down. He has also stalemated and gotten the upper hand on Dick Grayson in combat. That is a feat to himself. Okay, I'm sorry. It's a massive feat for him to be able to hold his own against Dick Grayson in combat. Now, that could be debated, and I'm willing to debate that about Dick Grayson. Dick Grayson could have been holding back. Dick Grayson could have been going all out. We don't know. But I will still say that yes, if Dick Grayson came at him and Tim Drake says, okay, I gotta hold this dude down, he will hold him down. He will try to hold him down as best he possibly can. He knows that Dick Grayson is an acrobat. I cannot get him in the air. If he gets in the air, he is done. Tim Drake is done. He knows it. All right? He knows stick fighting, karate, tai chi, aikido, kung fu, and judo. That makes a lot of sense. And the stick fighting makes him able to actually utilize his aikido, his judo, and his karate in a much more effective way. His tai chi keeps it so he's always grounded. He has a strong center. And he utilizes dispersing energy. That's what tai chi is, dispersing energy. So if you attack him with full strength, he's able to wave it off and disperse that energy to make it so it's not as powerful as it's supposed to be, or it doesn't hurt him. All right, I'm sorry, man. There's a lot of things here when it comes down to Tim Drake of what he's capable of versus Damian Wayne. I'm not saying that Tim will overbashingly defeat Damian Wayne. What I'm saying is skill wise and experience wise, he has a massive gap over Damian. Massive. Now just straight abilities, it's Tim, not Damian, Tim. His abilities are way off the charts. Damian's is way off the charts, so they'll be about even when it comes down to abilities. Yeah, I'll go with that. It's in the firm middle between both of them. They could probably keep themselves pinned down. The only thing is that I rather just go into what I think the battle is going to be. But that's the analytical side of both of them. That's going down to what I think of their skills, their techniques, experience, intellect, and their abilities. And I mean, they're both not muscular kids. They're not muscular. They both have wiry frames. But Damian is going to be a muscle buster. He's going to have muscles bigger than Tim's. He will grow bigger muscles if it's done right. He's not going to be as big as his father. Hell no. But he's going to be maybe about 2/3 his size. Now, let's get into the final portion. I don't want to make this too long. Now, who would I think will win in the longer run? I will set it up. Let's say that they're both in the Batcave. And let's say that Damian and Tim are in a training session and Batman told him to train. Damian feels he does not need to train with Tim. Why? He could beat him up and down the street. While Tim is sitting there going, oh my God, dude. All right. Okay, let's just humor each other. If you beat me, you beat me. If I beat you, I beat you. And that's when Damian kind of snickers and says, you beat me? There is no way that's ever going to happen, Drake. No way. So they spar for a little bit while Bruce is analyzing some information for the Justice League. And then you hear a loud thud and Bruce turns around and Alfred's like, oh dear. And you see Damian throwing Tim into literally the dinosaur. He didn't have to do it. Damian wanted to. Tim goes, why did you do that? Damian says, well, if you're that skilled, it should never have happened. Tim just looks at him, looks up at Bruce, and Bruce is not even doing it. He's just typing on his computer. You have Alfred just standing over, just like the watchful Lord. They're letting them handle it. And Tim's sitting there going, oh my God, dude. And then he goes into his mindscape and he remembers something that Lady Shiva told him. She's telling him that, there's sometimes when you have to put a person in their place. You have a kind soul, Tim, Mr. Drake, but that kind soul could get you killed. And against enemies that your mentor deals with, that kind soul can be corrupted, and it can be used as a weapon against him. And that's when Tim decides, okay. He looks at him and goes, okay. And he walks forward and goes, and he gets into this weird little stance, and he gets into a Tai Chi stance. Damian's like, what the hell? You're going to use that against me? Oh, okay, whatever, man. So he goes into his normal stance, and they spar, and for some reason, Damian cannot get a hit off of him. And it's starting to frustrate Damian. Why is his attacks not working? And Tim is just, he's calm, he's collect. And Damian finally figures something out and goes, okay. He does a flying spin kick as Tim grabs the kick and twists it around to disperse the energy. Damian recocks his opposite foot and literally clocks Tim in the side of the temple. And the way he kicked him, it was enough to kill him. And that's when Bruce got up, turned around, and looked over, and Tim is laid on the ground. His mask is halfway off his face. The side of his head has a nice little dent. And Tim is sitting there going, you just tried to kill me. And Damian says, hey, I did what I had to do. And then that's when Tim goes, and he's trying to figure out, like, what he goes, okay, you know what, you are Bruce's son, but you got to hold back. He gives him a speech. Damian just tells him to go F himself, basically. If you can't handle it, there's the door. And Tim looks up at Bruce, and you see Bruce just standing over him, like, what are you going to do about it? So Tim looks down and goes, okay. He walks over, grabs weapons, and tosses a weapon to Damian. Damian's like, are you sure about this? He goes, deadly. And he gets into a style that holds his blade to his side while his wrist holds the end of the blade up and points it straight at Damian. Damian's like, he gets into his ninja stance, and they go at it. Tim is calm. Tim is collect. Tim is starting to beat the daylights out of Damian. He's pinning him down. He's making sure that Damian cannot get any of his most powerful attacks off. He ducks under his spin kick, uppercuts him right in his jawline. He throws the sword away and pulls out his staff and starts the clinic. He grabs when Damian does a massive thrust. Tim puts the staff into the in between his arms, spins it upward. He hits the back fist. He hits his hands with his back fist, which forces the blade out of his hand. Grabs the wrist at the same time, spins it over, and literally pops Damian's shoulder almost out of place. And then as Damian grits his teeth, Tim pulls the staff out and spins the opposite side of the staff upward and uppercuts his inside jawline and makes him backspin and lands face first into the ground. And Tim backs up like 4 feet and just stands over him. Damian struggles to get up. He gets back up to his feet and he gets angry and jumps at him and tries to legitimately, now he's trying to fight him. He's using Den Mach, which causes Tim to go, Den Mach, and puts his staff away and starts using his Tai Chi to maneuver his fists away and uses Aikido to get into his attacks and literally starts to put on another clinic. He buzzes Damian's ribs, which forces Tim to do a beautiful palm thrust, which makes Damian fly backwards and lands hard on his back. Fight's over. And when Damian wakes up, his dad's looking down on him, and he gets angry, which causes Batman to look at his son, and he doesn't. It's not a smile of approval or disapproval. It's just that look. It's a look. And Tim is gone. Tim left. He said we were going to have dinner, but Tim says, nope, I'm done. And he leaves. And Damian's wondering what made him angry. He goes, I'm the one that got my butt kicked here. He goes, yes, because you tried to kill him. You need to learn. And Batman starts to tell him that you need to learn something here. When Tim first got here, yeah, I beat the living crap out of that kid. But you know what he did? He took it and he used it as a tool to make sure that it doesn't happen again. You need to learn that. And Batman leaves. He goes, dinner is going to be at 6. And he leaves. Alfred leaves him the medicine to take care of it, and he leaves too. And Damian is sitting in the Batcave, tending to his wounds, and he's going, ow. Damn it, Drake. Now, there's a moral to the story here. There is a moral to the story. Damian can lose his temper, and he doesn't. He loses his temper very easily. When he knows he can win, he's calm as a cucumber. But when things start getting worse for him because he's fighting against someone who's better than him, he loses his temper. Tim only loses his temper when he knows that he's going to die. He starts to get frantic. But there was no reason for him to get frantic against Damian because he knows that this kid's going to try to kill him, or this is just this is a training session. And if he gets his butt kicked, he gets his butt kicked. But Damian was trying to kill him because Damian always goes for the jugular. He always tries to go for killing blows. And Tim knew this. He utilized his techniques, he utilized his abilities, and he also utilized his brain to make sure that it doesn't happen again. He knows that Damian is going to do it. And that is the reasoning why, at the end of the day, yes, Damian is going to give Tim a massive run for his money. But if a fight elongates, Tim is going to win. Because Tim is smarter than him. He has more experience than him. He has more techniques and abilities. He has almost the amount of abilities as Damian. But his techniques are way above Damian's. I'm sorry. Way above Damian's. Because he's had years with the Justice League. He has years with the Young Justice. And he has years with the Teen Titans. And he forged himself into a type of leader type of hero than a martial fighter like Batman. Batman is a jack of all trades. Tim is more of an analytical leader. And he keeps everything flowing by a plan. He's so analytical. He's calm. That's Tim's greatest strength. His greatest weakness is if things start to get bad and things are not going to his plan and it's making it worse, he's frantic a little. He has to try to figure it out. It will take time. But there's no reason for that against Damian. This is a quick sparring session, and Tim knew exactly how to take care of Damian. Now, here's the thing. And this is for those Damian fans out there. If Tim decided to not train and just lounged around for a year while Damian went off with, he had Teen Titans. Let's say he goes off with the Justice League and goes through a lot of experiences. Give Damian 2-3 more years. If Tim give Damian 2-3 more years and Tim doesn't do anything, then we will revisit this, and Damian will give Tim he would win. He would win. It wouldn't be a run for his money. It would be he would win. Because Damian would understand what it means, what it takes to win. And he understands that he has to keep himself calm. He has the skills. He has the techniques. He has the abilities. He can do it. But you're talking about Tim Drake, who trained with Dick Grayson and was able to fight him to a standstill. And in some cases beat him. He was able to beat Jason Todd, who has way more experience than him. Almost the same level of experience as Dick Grayson. But this dude has power and strength and ruthless aggression. Tim was trained by Henry Ducard how to fight and be a criminologist. By hands down, quite possibly the third best criminologist in the world. Maybe even top 2. And Lady Shiva, who is the greatest hand-to-hand fighter in all of DC. And she's a woman. Tim Drake trained with her. Damian Wayne never trained with Lady Shiva. She refused to train him. There's no reason to. So if you truly want to believe if Damian could beat Tim Drake, you severely underestimate Tim Drake and what he could truly do. I am not underestimating and I'm not overestimating Damian Wayne. I'm saying is that the problem with Damian Wayne is they turned Damian Wayne into 1990s GD Batman. And when I say GD, it means God darn Batman. The Batman that everybody hates. The one that can look at Darkseid and go, okay, I know how to defeat you. The Batman that has every known thing in his utility belt. I can do this. I can do that. I can do this. I can do that. And that's what they're doing with Damian Wayne. And it upsets me. It bothers me. Because that's not how this kid should be built. Damian should be at a certain skill level, and that's it. He should not be a better archer than Green Arrow. That is laughable. That's absurd, and that's demeaning to Green Arrow. He's not the best hand-to-hand fighter out of all the crime fighters, but he is the greatest archer to ever live. And you're gonna make a kid better than him? Now that happened in Metal. I don't know if that ever went forward, and I'm hoping it doesn't. Those are small little things that upset me about how they did Damian Wayne. How about grow this character, let his skills start to slowly perceive itself and grow with the character, and we're going to see a great hero. But we've seen what Tim can do. We've seen over the years, he fought Azrael Batman. He fought against Bane. He fought in a city that basically was destroyed during the earthquake. There's a lot of things we saw with Tim Drake and how he forged himself into a phenomenal hero, and he gets laughed aside because of Damian Wayne and the fact that he is Bruce Wayne's biological son. That makes no sense. I love Tim Drake. I think he's one of the best characters. I think Damian is a very interesting character. I do. But I don't want Damian Wayne to cast a huge shadow so Tim Drake is lost in darkness. That's not right. This character's been around for over 20 years. He's a beloved hero, and he should be freaking treated very well. And that's my problem with DC right now. They put him on Young Justice, and he just basically he floundered himself away. He's now called the Drake. Oh Lord. We have to see how it's done. So that's what that's my analysis of this. I still believe that Tim Drake would not easily beat Damian Wayne, but it would be not an easy fight unless Damian does something stupid. But if they were to truly spar and figure out who a true hero, not hero, but a true winner, it could be a toss-up. It could truly be a toss-up. It's basically the overwhelming skill and ability of Damian Wayne versus the calculating strategic genius of Tim Drake. Who would win? Let's put it in this perspective, and I know people are going to probably flame me over this. It's truly, if you really think about it, Damian Wayne is Batman, and Tim Drake, he's freaking Deathstroke. He has the skill, but Deathstroke is one of the greatest mercenaries in the world. He's an analytical genius himself. He's a tactical genius. He's special op trained. But that's what it's like. It's like Batman versus Deathstroke, and we know over time Batman will beat him. But there are times when basically Deathstroke can beat Batman. It's happened. And Deathstroke has beaten Dick Grayson all up and down the street many, many times. There's a few times that Deathstroke got handed his butt to by Dick Grayson. And there's a times where Batman handed Slade Wilson his butt on a lot of occasions. As long as Tim keeps his cool, there is no way Damian can beat him. Sorry. So like, comment, share, subscribe down below, hit that bell, and I'll get as many videos out. We're still in quarantine. I actually decided to get something new for my computer. Hopefully I'll get this thing in tomorrow afternoon. So if you guys have been going over to my video game section, I can't do any video games for a while until I get this new thing into my computer. I'll let you guys know once it's up and running and everything is running very smoothly. Once it is, I will definitely let you guys see it. I'm hoping it's pretty. I'm hoping it's sexy. And once it's in there, I am going to be good on my computer for a good long time. So thank you for joining me. You guys have a great one. And we're hearing more rumbles. That Snyder Cut is coming. I'm hoping. I'm crossing my fingers. I'm hoping that literally within the next 2-3 months, we're getting that Snyder Cut. Summertime, we should be getting that Snyder Cut. Thanks. Bye.